All right. So, listen, I read a lot of books, right? I'm always reading books on different things, business books, philosophical books, history books, whatever. I read a lot. All right. So I figured just try something a little bit different here where I kind of give my thoughts on what I'm reading. Okay. And see, what if I can give, these books that I'm reading a say cheese and lift kind of stamp of approval here, right? Maybe not as silly, but I just recently read a book entitled Muscular Christianity by Paul Uponi, and I hope I'm saying his name right. I get a little tongue twisted with the name sometimes, but hopefully I said his name correctly. But Muscular Christianity is a book about basically it's a book about linking the physical fitness or your physicality with your Christianity, basically. And I thought it was let me put it this way. It was a very interesting read, and I was vibing with this book because a lot of what's stated in this book kind of matches up with what the Scowl method is, right? Especially with the physicality and the spirituality, okay? So let me just break down real quick. I want to start by reading the preface, the beginning part of the preface, and then I'll read the beginning part of the intro, and it kind of give you a really good idea on what this book is about. Then I'll get into what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, and so on and so forth, right? All right, so the beginning of the preface says, according to Wikipedia, according to Wikipedia, muscular Christianity is a philosophical movement that originated in England in the mid-19th century, characterized by a belief in patriotic duty, discipline, self-sacrifice, masculinity, and the moral and physical beauty of athleticism. So he also states in the preface that he didn't know that it was a thing, and I did not know that was a thing. For as much as I read, I did not know muscular Christianity was an actual movement, which is cool. But that also makes me think a little bit. Muscular Christianity was a movement, and it was a thing, and I wonder often now after having read this book, what happened, right? Like, what is the pathway that Christianity took from going to muscular Christianity as a movement to this, this soft Christianity that we see now? And here's the thing, in my opinion, and again, it's an opinion, right? So in my opinion, Christianity is super soft, and I don't mean soft in a good way. I mean, I don't mean like gentle, but firm, kind, not nice. I don't mean that. That's being soft. It's tender, right? I mean, Christianity is soft in the sense that it's laying down for anything. So I don't understand how Christianity went from muscular Christianity to what it is today. I have my hunch. I have my ideas. Maybe one day I'll discuss those a little bit later on. And this is always something that's open for debate. But that's I didn't know it was a movement. It does this book seems very timely to me, right? All right. So in the introduction, it will give you a really good idea of what's going on, right? So it says, in our era, we have seen increased interest in the combination of spiritual and physical fitness. Wellness and self-improvement initiatives have become very popular. We are a generation that obsessively practices daily healthy habits with the promise of future physical and mental health rewards. These have been made necessary to deal with our collective state of anxiety, confusion, and apathy that have resulted from the world of social media and other modern pressures. If you search enough, you will find exercise posited as a potential solution to these issues because it addresses nearly all of them and more. In my opinion, exercise is the single most effective self-help tool, but self-help by itself can only do so much. It tends to work more like a painkiller, providing only temporary relief, not substantive healing. Self-help strategies are unable to dig deeper than surface issues. They fail to address the deeper philosophical and spiritual issues. As the religious population continues to decline, contemporary women may look to astrology for spirituality. Men, on the other hand, search for something to satisfy the desire for a substantive, difficult, and regimented way of living. This is why they are looking to ancient Stoic philosophers. This is also why, okay, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit here. I'm skipping a little bit. This is why they are, and along with contemporary wisdom from self-improvement figures like, and he names a bunch of people. Most of the contemporary self-improvement figures are successful authors and podcasters with millions of book sales and podcasts with millions of listeners, most of them being male. Whether they know it or not, these influential figures are filling a spiritual lacuna in the hearts of men. That is one heck of an intro, right? And I don't think he was at all wrong in anything he said there. There is a decreased maybe desire, it seems like, but there seems to be a pull away from organized religion as a whole, even though, as I stated in this episode before, earlier on, that a lot of organized religion throughout all of history provided the framework for men to be men. So it's very interesting. You're pulling away from the thing that allows you to be masculine. Anyway, this book digs deep into the like 2/3 of the book is basically about details of your physicality, right? And it's pretty decent there. And then towards the later half or later end of the book, Paul describes a modern version of muscular Christianity. And then he uses a whole bunch of different details. He uses a bunch of studies. He uses a whole bunch of different things, philosophy books, things like that, to get his point across. And I think he does so in a pretty decent job at doing that, right? So I'm going to start with what I didn't like, and it really wasn't that many things, right? It was really just one thing, right? At the end of the book, he gives this, it's like a chapter or a section on practical advice. And I thought it was a little out of place. Reason being, most of this book is more of a philosophical book. It's more of like an intellectual book, right? We're talking about theory here. We're talking about thinking differently. And here's his argument. He's building up his case for linking your physical state of being with your Christianity, or linking your physical with your spiritual, right? And he's giving that framework, and he's basically discussing all of that within that. And then he kind of just goes towards at the end, where it's just like, well, here's practical advice on your physical fitness. And it just seemed out of place. In fact, I think it would have been a stronger book without it, because then it's just all theory, all thinking. And then if he wanted to do it, like, he could have done a follow-up book where it's just like, okay, here we're working on the physicality portion of it, right? And I understand why potentially he would put that in there and have that in there. But for me, it kind of just, I basically like kind of skimmed through it, and then I forced myself to read it and see what was going on. But I'm also a trainer too, so a lot of this stuff is kind of just like, okay, I get it. I'm probably not the audience for that last section. But again, so that's why I think the book is stronger without that last section. Now, my most favorite part of this book actually is on page 106. And it's in a section that he's describing like the virtues of athletics, right? And he talks about the virtues of bodybuilding. And I thought it was very interesting. To a point where he even had this quote, and I wrote it down because it was pretty poignant. He basically calls bodybuilding the most physical manifestation of personal development, and it was good. It was I like that kind of take on it. That actually made me smile when I read that, because I'm just like, you know what? And I mean, then he describes it, and he uses a couple pages to describe that idea, and then he links it back to Christ, and I was just like, good on you. I thought that part kind of made the book for me. No, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of good information in there, and and it's pretty easy to follow as well. So that's what I really, really liked about it. Now, what I thought was probably the most surprising part was the amount of real estate that he gave to kind of debunking the passivity of Christians. That was, now, I didn't think there was anything wrong with that. I actually tend to agree with the statements that he made on those pages. I just didn't expect him to give so many, put so many words to kind of debunking, passive Christians, right? Or, being a pacifist, right? This is just, it just kind of caught me off guard a little bit. So let's count it as a pleasant surprise. Okay. So there you have it, right? That's Muscular Christianity by Paul Uponi. It gets the the Sage He's and Lift stamp of approval. All right, let's keep it pushing. So if you like this segment, here's another one for you. Click over here. And if you want the entire podcast, go this way. Click on that one right there. And once again, I appreciate you. All right, you take it easy.